the Jays do not make the playoffs.
That's it, I'm leaving.
That's when Odell Beckham Jr. will be donning the green and yellow.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to Grey County Life. I'm one of your hosts, Rhonda Brown.
And I'm Mary Jane Murray, and this is your favorite lifestyle magazine show on Rogers TV.
Well, we're getting used to being back in the studio, I think. It's week number 2.
Yeah.
My goodness, it's, it's kind of nice to have somewhere to be.
Well, it's just really nice to see you in person, you know? Like, how much fun can this be?
I know. It's, when we think about how much time has gone by, it's amazing to me that it was 2 years of being back and forth, of being at home. Yeah. And when we think about anniversaries, we're here to talk about this week, we're going to talk about the Scarecrow invasion. 25th anniversary?
The 25th anniversary. And they're live and full of all their activities. Like, how much fun can that be? To be driving through Meaford and seeing all these random scarecrows all over the place.
I think people must be so happy to have these things that we're used to. And after 25 years, they have quite a collection of volunteers, I would think.
Well, they certainly couldn't put it on unless they had this huge core of volunteers, and they are so dedicated, and year after year coming forward to put together hundreds of scarecrows in order to fill up the community. But they have a lot of events that are happening which the communities can get involved in. And the scarecrows are starting to migrate just outside of Meaford, like they have legs or something.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of surrounding communities that are also putting up scarecrows. But for Meaford itself, the parade is starting Friday, September 30th at 6 o'clock, and traditionally led by the kazoo band.
I'm thinking next year we have a calling.
Probably the only instrument I could play. And then following that on the Saturday and Sunday is the Apple Harvest Craft Show, which is always a favorite in the community. It draws in a lot of people.
Yep.
And for the 25th anniversary, they have a quiz online, and then there's prizes to go along with that.
We all like prizes.
The apple pie contest is on Friday, September 30th. Now, I am famous for my apple pie, but I can't enter because I don't live in the municipality of Meaford. So
if you want to make one, I can help you out. I will be the judge, jury, and not executioner, I guess, but
consumer.
Consumer, judge, jury, and consumer happily.
Oh.
Love apple pie.
Oh, yeah. And businesses are being encouraged to create their own theme and their own displays. And then, of course, there's going to be judges and prizes to go along with that as well. So the businesses are encouraged to participate. And the scarecrows are out now. This is September the 14th, but the scarecrows were actually started to set up in early September, and they will be out and about until the end of October. So if you are not able to make it into the Meaford community, they'll still be there in October, throughout October.
I know the kids love seeing them, and
they're so interesting because how many different kinds of scarecrows can you make? And they all look different, and they all have a personality. Yeah. You know, you really have to think about who are you greeting on the street. Is it live or is it not? And then, of course, they have the quilt competition, too, as well. Yes. And so with all the events that are coming up, with the scarecrow invasion happening in Meaford or in the surrounding communities, it would be really great for people to be out and about and feeling really normal and enjoying the fall as well.
The fall colors, and yeah, the fall fairs are in full swing. I know that we just had the Owen Sound Fall Fair, and this back to their roots, which I think is a fabulous idea. You know, just getting back to the reason we started having fall fairs. So that, yeah, it's a great time of year. Great time of year. I like that it's a little bit chillier outside, not quite so hot. Everybody likes that.
Well, it's almost like a renewal. I mean, we always see September as kind of a renewal time, but I think we're actually seeing this particular September as really an awakening in our communities. Yeah. There's a lot of events going on other than the Scarecrow Invasion, but I mean, the other organizations are also starting to put their events together and start to have face-to-face events where people can gather and reconnect. I think we lost so much over those 2.5 years of feeling more isolated, more confined, and so now we're in an opportunity to really get out and enjoy what's happening in our communities.
Yeah, and still respecting each other's desire to stay safe, and you know, whether people are still choosing to mask and hand sanitize and distance and that sort of thing. It certainly has changed us, hasn't it?
Well, I think I always go back to my motto, and that is always be kind. Yeah. And to be respectful of other people's choices, and lots of times I still continue to wear a mask just because of my personal situation and things that are happening in my life. And I think we just need to be respectful of all the choices that people choose to make.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're good at that as a community. I think it's something that we've all kind of learned along the way, and a lot of us are just taking the time to be a little more respectful.
Oh, well, I just have such great affection for our community, and to be able to celebrate all the events that are happening again, I think it just brings joy to our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are glad you're joining us today on Grey County Life on Rogers TV. We've got a great show, and don't touch that dial because we'll be back with our first guest on Rogers TV.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Raven Reads. Unbox Indigenous voices. Subscribe today at ravenreads.org.
Did you have fun? Check this out. It's nice, right?
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
Welcome back to Great County Life on Rogers TV. I'm one of your hosts, Rhonda Brown, with the lovely
Mary Jane Murray, but thank you. Speaking of lovely, it is so lovely to see my friend Jill Umbach, the Planning Network Coordinator for the Bruce Grey Poverty Task Force, my friend. And a long-standing relationship with Jill, and it's just delightful to see you in person, which I haven't seen you for 2.5 years. It's incredible to be in person and not on a Zoom or a Skype.
It was so nice, yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say that even though I haven't seen you for 2.5 years, that you have not been a very busy person and carrying on with the Bruce Grey Poverty Task Force and all the initiatives that they're taking, and to keep in front of the community those issues that are really important. And you being part of Rent Safe, now I know there's a whole collaboration and community, and there's a whole lot of folks behind you, but today you're the voice of Rent Safe and the really great work that they have done over the years. And you know, when I think of this and the work that they've done, there's a little bit of regret that I'm still not as active in it, but we have you. You see, so you are the voice today.
Today, yes, the voice of many.
Yes,
because Rent Safe is a collaborative, and we started off with universities, housing agencies, tenants, our community voices at the Poverty Task Force, and it's part of a large Ontario movement to look at substandard housing and to look at ways in which we can improve on it, and also to look at ways that tenants and landlords can work more collaboratively. And so that's a big challenge. Where often we pit the landlord against the tenant and the tenant against the landlord. But what we're trying to do is in both research, participatory research, but also in discussing what are the issues, what are the barriers, to come to some solutions that will both benefit a landlord. You know, what is it that will motivate a landlord to keep renting and to get through COVID? And what will support the tenant to live in a decent place and to create that as a home and a foundation for them.
Well, it's at the sort of the pinnacle of our thoughts these days, simply because of the cost of living and how everything has escalated. And I was just reading recently that the living wage now for Owen Sound is $20 an hour.
Possibly higher. Yeah, we will be releasing. I sit as the Poverty Task Force. We sit in the United Way office. The calculations for the living wage have gone into Living Wage Ontario. We have an idea. It's going to be a little bit more than $20. The last time we did the calculation, the United Way calculated $18.39, and that was back in 2019. And so we've kept that throughout COVID and been a little bit busy with emergency response, so haven't had to do that, but sat down this year and the United Way calculated again. Once we get an approval on that, we will be releasing the new one, and yes, it will be above $20. The cost of housing, transportation, food, all of that has increased.
And this certainly impacts on the availability of affordable housing.
Yeah. We have seen, in particular, the Owen Sound Collaborative is looking at the city of Owen Sound, which has about 40% of the rental market. So it's very high, and it's one of the reasons why Rent Safe is focusing on the city as an example of what can we do. And part of that, as you said, is that rents have gone up. We've also seen turnovers. We've seen people taking back homes, so we're seeing less available rental. And then there has been a lot more building across both counties, but in particular with Owen Sound, when we don't have some of those reservation on are those affordable rents. So understanding what is affordable, what is attainable. Huge education in the last 2 years. Understanding what it is. We've been doing a lot better with the by names list and the coordinated access to actually understand how many people are homeless. How many people are chronically homeless, which means that they have moved several times in the last year. And then just really a stark reality about when everybody went to isolate under COVID, there was a lot of people that had no place to go. And we saw a lot of people that had been couch surfing that said, hey, we're going down in our numbers and you can't sleep on our couch, right? So we saw a lot of that impacting on visible homelessness. And I think a lot of people would say, and it's certainly in the municipal election front and center, is the visibility around the homelessness and what action are we taking and what responsibility are we taking as neighbors?
Well, I think we have to look at our community as a whole. Every person living in our community should have access to safe, affordable housing. I mean, that's the foundation. Once you have housing, then you can start to move your life forward. This is where I live, not where I stay.
Exactly.
It doesn't become temporary. And when you have that mindset of safe, this is safety, this is affordable, it may be pinching really hard, but I can stay, I can live here, and then my kids can go to school, I can go to school, I can get a job, I have an address, I have stability in my life, and the more stability you have, the further you can grow and become what you want to be in your community.
And accessing some of those available resources. You know, Mary Jane used to work at the Adult Learning Center. If you don't have some stability in your life, you can't access what's available in the community. And a lot of people will judge and say, well, you can go here, you can go to Georgian, you can go there, you can go to the Y and get employment service. All of these things only happen if you're in a place of being able to reach out and being in a place where you're not living in a chaotic, you know, just worrying about where am I going to sleep tonight. That doesn't set the groundwork for accessing some of those resources.
I think that when developers decide that what they're building and they say, well, we are building affordable houses, they are thinking that what is affordable to them, not necessarily what is affordable to someone on ODSP or social services. And so there's that gap as well of what is affordable, really affordable, and what is viewed to be affordable.
And recently we've seen developers present before councils and say, well, I know how much ODSP is, you know, we'll do the total check of an ODSP. And that check is supposed to be for rent, it's supposed to be for food, it's supposed to be for basics. But they'll just go with the whole, you know, $1,700 is an affordable rent. Well, somebody on OW doesn't get $1,700. Somebody maybe only getting $1,600. So people are taking the maximum checks and assuming that's affordable. So it's challenging. Location's another aspect, right? So it might be affordable for the rent, but then you can't afford to get to work.
The other thing too is that we have this wonderful video that RentSafe has produced, and we would like to show it because it really talks about the understanding where people are coming from. So if we could roll that video, that would be terrific. It's about 4 minutes.
I internalized this notion that because I was low income, I should be happy that I had a roof over my head. So the fact that there was mold in it, that I didn't have access to the storage, that the heating system was questionable sometimes, none of that, I didn't stand up for myself.
They're scared to speak up because they're afraid of what little they have they're going to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, it's hard because what little you have is going to be taken. And being in poverty, you take pride in what you have.
There was an incident where my safety and that of the people who live within the same complex that I do was severely endangered by the actions of others. And when the authorities came and we asked them for help, they said to us, well, look where you live.
Worrying if the walls are gonna crumble, if your neighbor's gonna, come flying through your cardboard wall, or, is my house going to catch fire because the wiring is so old and no one's doing anything about it? You know, or does my front door work? You know, a home is somewhere where you go and you want to be safe and you want to be there.
I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what my rights were at first.
Just because you're low income doesn't mean you need to go home and have mold or bed bugs or have things deteriorating. You deserve to have safe, affordable housing no matter what your income is.
We live in a society with unequal power, and people who are low income and marginalized, when they speak up, can often be punished for speaking up by authorities. So people learn to not speak up for fear of being punished. Another barrier that keeps people from speaking is that they don't think that anybody's going to listen. And so we need to create spaces and community where people know that their voices are valued.
It's important for people to speak up, because if they don't speak up, they're never going to be heard. And if you're not heard, changes cannot be made.
Us being part of Rent Safe, we're advocates, all of us in some way, whether we're coming from tenant experience or we're coming from an organization of some sort. We are here to hear from the people, because we're trying to help the people, and you can't help the people unless you know what they need.
I just got tired of being pushed by landlords and having them get away with stuff that they shouldn't be getting away with. I won. I had a voice. I'm being heard.
I'm the only one who can truly express what it is I need. So my voice is power, because I have the power to say, I can do this, I can't do that.
My voice is important, and it's important to be heard, and I deserve to be heard.
Using my voice got me a part-time job with Grey County Housing. I spoke in front of my city council and gave a presentation. It's my power. I've realized that I can use it, and I should use it. And others out there don't want to use their voice, so I use mine for them.
My voice is one of the few things that I have that belongs to me. My voice is my ability to make change. My voice is the tool that I rely on to make change. My voice is unique to me, as everyone's voice is unique to them, and we truly can't understand what needs to happen unless we hear from the unique individual voices of the people who have lived experience with poverty.
Wow, it was very powerful. Very powerful.
That, and very well done. Just very impactful to hear women and how much it took for them to actually speak on camera and to say what they need to say. Can you speak to the filming of this?
So the group did a series of videos, and this was back in 2017 and 18. Some of it speaking to the type of housing that they've seen, and in this particular video, they were speaking to. They were just speaking to speaking. I mean, we don't recognize sometimes who's talking all the time. If you are at a council meeting, or if you're at a general meeting, say in an all candidates debate, whose voice is the loudest? And sometimes it is not these women. They are not necessarily ones who would stand up in a crowd. But I got to tell you, in doing the video, they really took it upon themselves to say, my voice is important, my voice is my power, and I have a right to be able to stand up and speak what I need for my family, what I need for myself. Renee, who spoke in the video, talked about working at Grey County Housing. She's now shifted to a new job at Safe and Sound, our drop-in center, and is working directly with homeless people. Their voices are all still active, and they're engaged. And there are community voices, but they're also part of Rent Safe, something larger for a system change. So right now, we are putting out a survey to look at what it's been like in the last 2 years. We've recently just had a survey completed by the landlords. So we are listening to landlords as well as tenants. And next Wednesday we're about to launch and work with people who are tenants and to collect their voices and to see what it's been like for the last 2 years under COVID.
So one of the challenges about using your voice in our community is the opportunity to vote. And I think that as one of the women mentioned, that if I don't use my voice, then I won't be heard. Voting is another way of using your voice. But what are some of the challenges that we're faced for people who don't have an address?
Right. So if you don't have an address right now, you can get registered by having somebody else say, this is who you are. If you don't have ID or if you don't have an address, they can sign an affidavit. So it's slightly different in each municipality as in what the location of where you can go. Each municipality has posted online or is available at the head of their administration where you can go for a voter's help desk. So the Voters Help Desk can get you registered. It can also help you vote. We know that some municipalities have changed to online and phone, but you can go to these help desks, anybody, whether you're homeless without an address or you're a senior that says, how am I going to do that by phone or online? So there are ways in which we can support people to vote in all of the municipalities in Grey Bruce.
I noticed that sometimes people who feel marginalized feel that even if they vote, it doesn't make any difference. That so why bother? But I think there are times, particularly like this, when we're seeing costs that are escalating that they can't afford, and that people are now on the edge. That voting is really essential, and to encourage as many people as possible from all walks of life to step up and vote.
It's really important to know who's in the list of people, the candidates. How many women do you want to see there that reflects yourself perhaps as a woman? Or is there somebody with lived experience that's running for the first time? How can you support them? Because then your voice is there. And how can you pose the question, how do I have affordable housing? How do I find income solutions for me and my own community? And that's why you need to vote, because without that representation, your voice won't be heard.
Thanks so much, Jill, for coming today and raising awareness about our tenants and renters and landlords as well, and the group effort that's being made.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We will be back after these messages on Grey County Life.
Treaty in Cree is Naskometoen, an oral agreement. And our agreements were always spoken. For George Spence, the core of treaty was Wichihioen, to help one another.
And so we, the commissioners...
He was there for the making of Treaty 9, where the Cree were told...
We will honor this agreement together, for as long as the sun shines and the waters flow.
The Cree made their mark because they were assured that the land would be shared, and they would always be able to harvest what they needed. George Spence was my great-grandfather. In his life, he saw many promises of the treaty go unfulfilled.
Treaties were essential to the creation of Canada. First Nations still fight for the agreements to be honored.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Welcome back to Grey County Life on Rogers TV. I'm one of your hosts, Rhonda Brown.
And I'm Mary Jane Murray, and we're just part of this dynamic duo that just keeps rolling whatever happens.
Whatever happens. And we have a local celebrity, I believe.
We do.
Celebrity book. Hey, take it. Yeah, absolutely.
We have Morgan X. Barrie, who is a very accomplished singer and musician.
Thank you.
And I had the pleasure of doing some research on you yesterday and listening to your music, and it is very heartfelt, very soulful, and you're building a connection between people and also our environment as well.
Yeah.
So can you just give us a brief outline of how you got started with music? Like, what was the pivotal moment that said, aha?
I'm not sure if there was an actual pivotal moment, but when I was younger, my dad had a classical guitar around the house. He couldn't play it. He's a great writer, but not a musician, so to say. And but he did know like these 2 to 3 finger picking and like a 1 finger thing, and I always thought that was really neat. And I just kind of fell in love with that, and started to be like, okay, if I can make this sound, can I make a different sound? And then, of course, I always loved music when I was growing up, and to be like, oh, I can play that chord, like this person can play it. And it just really intrigued me, and then it just went from there. It just grew from there.
But you have a very distinctive style. I mean, there's singers who work at different techniques and different styles until they find what is authentic to them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for me, I knew very soon in the genesis of the start of my playing that I wasn't going to be a tenor, and I wasn't going to be, you know, like a Michael Bublé. I had a very distinct voice, and it was, you know, I couldn't sing how, you know, I thought I should sing. And I just found my own rhythm. And then, so I'm not very good at doing cover songs and whatnot, so that obviously lent itself for me to start writing my own songs. And at a very young age, I used to have a ghetto blaster, and so I'd use that, and I'd record myself on the guitar, and then I'd borrow my sister's, and I'd play it back, and as I played it back, I would do a layer over it. So I'd sing over it, or do a double voice over, or start recording another guitar, so you get the lead guitar and the so it's essentially a 2-track tape kind of a thing, but that's how I got sort of into the production side of stuff and writing songs.
Well, in listening to your songs, they seem to be deeply personal.
Yeah.
In the when I watched the videos, I could see that you were more in tune with your own lyrics and music than you were. You could just see how your body actually just goes into it, and you're just enveloped in that, as opposed to playing to an audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, you know, if I was out there writing music for the audience, and the music is for the audience, then I'd be trying to guess what people would want from me. And where I feel like, you know, I feel like I have something to say, and I feel, I really feel that I have to write what I want to hear, and what I think, and what I love, and, you know, what a message maybe I want to get across, or, you know, to be like, I felt that love before for my grandfather, or for, you know, my children, or whatnot, and to connect with people that way. But it has to be okay with me first, before, and I put it out there, and there's, you know, 7 billion people in the world. Someone's bound to like it.
Somebody's gonna like this,
right? But for the most part, it's for me. You know what I mean? And then when I go to play it in a live, I put it out there and try to make that connection with people, and go from there. Yeah.
Well, it's very powerful.
Thank you.
I was very moved by the lyrics in some of your songs. Obviously, I didn't hear a lot of them, but that you've cut 3 albums now.
Yes, 3 albums.
And this last one, Lines.
Yes.
But there's a very special song called Germany on that album. Tell us about the origin of that song.
So I got invited to go on tour in, I think it was 2018. and one of the stops, one of the major areas was Germany. And back in 1944, my grandfather, Douglas Barrie, he fought against the Germans in World War II. So he actually flew over and stormed Juno Beach. So he did the crossing and went into France and whatnot. So I wasn't sure what it was going to be like for me when I got there. So when we started going to all these venues and meeting all these people, and I just wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And all these people were very, very welcoming, open, very progressive, very loving. And it was such a contrast of like what my grandfather's experience would have been in Europe. And so when I came back, I just started playing the guitar, and I got some chords that I liked, and I started to write the song called Germany, and which is basically the contrast of the difference between what my generation, or I should say my own personal experience, my grandfather's. So there's a conversation going on too. So as I'm doing the music, there's my grandfather, who I found recordings of, talking about going across to Juno Beach. So throughout the song, my grandfather comes in and starts talking about how they're going across on the boats, and it was very wavy, and everyone needed puke bags before they're getting off, and all the missiles and the bombs going off. And so as the whole song escalates, it goes to that, and it drops away to where they land on the beach, and then there's a big build and a big solo, and it's supposed to represent, the troops on the beach. And I love playing that song. It's emotional for me. Almost every time I play it and talk about it, I turn into a puddle, like on stage. So I recently just played it at Summerfolk, and I had a piper, because he's a Scottish fella. So, he was from the Highland Infantry, so they're all about bagpipes and whatnot. And I had the pipes out. I was just a puddle. Luckily, I could collect myself before and then get into the song. But it's like you said, my songs are like very personal, and there's a story. There's a story in them.
I think when you have that history behind it and the passion that you have, and like you say, you turn into a puddle, how can you not end up connecting with people in your audience?
Absolutely.
It's just, it's human emotion.
Yeah, I had people write letters, and just looking out, and there's a lot of people that are feeling the same thing that I'm feeling, because they have that connection. We've all had that, and I had a great connection with them too. Where he talked about those war stories with me. So we've all lost people that we love, and so there's just that it's a real sense of this is part
connection.
A real connection.
Well, we've got the human experience. We're all going through the same things, and it's you're going to connect with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I firmly believe that.
So even though you're acoustic player, your guitar and the harmonica, but you do network with a lot of the local musicians as well.
Yeah, so the way I record a song right now is I have a little studio, and I'll do most everything. So I'll start with a click track to make sure that I'm on time. And then I'll do my acoustic guitars, and I'll play the bass, and then I'll play the keyboards, and I'll do the synthesizer, and I'll do the...
So you're not using your sister's ghetto blaster anymore?
No. Stepped up a notch, a slight notch. And then those areas that I'm not very good at, like drums, then I'll reach out, and so there's a local musician, Mark Mariash, and he's got his own drum studio, so I was able to send him all the tracks and everything, and he plays them, and he sends it back, and he's like, is this how you want it? And so we have a conversation. It was during COVID when lines was, so we weren't very, I wasn't going to his studio and being like, okay, I want it this way. So we were going back and forth that way. And Mark's such a pro, he plays with everyone from Buffy St. Marie to Royal Wood to the Good Lovelies. And I kind of just gave him creative control of what he wanted to do with drums, and then we'd work it out later. But he just nailed it. And other people that played on, I had Kyle Crane, who's Daniel Lanois' drummer, as well as many others, but Matt Epp sings on it. I have Lisa Lopsinger, who's a local in Laser, and Katie Gleiser. I mean, there's just like, yeah, Katie Gleiser, beautiful piano player, and she came in. We recorded on my acoustic piano in the house, and
wow.
Yeah, so just an eclectic mix. Like I'm missing a lot of people, but a lot of people touched the record, whereas the other two was just all me. So yeah, it was really neat that way.
Well, we have an amazing, talented musical community.
Unbelievable.
I mean, there's a lot of folks to draw from in terms of what you're doing. But I know that I really wanted to ask you about the song Plastic.
Yes.
Because it's so powerful.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
tell us about how that song, and not only is it powerful, it's graphic as well. The photography for the video is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it all stemmed. I came home one night, late night, and I got on Facebook, as we do sometimes. I'm scrolling by, and I see this scuba diver jumping into this sea of garbage, and like watching it, I'm horrified. You know, and I'm looking, and later on, it's a scuba diver swimming through garbage, and there's stingrays going by. I'm mortified, like I'm almost in tears, and I'm looking around my house, and then start to like really think about like the single-use plastic we use, and
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So then I thought, okay, well, I'll just won't use single-use plastic. It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
Yeah.
So you know, I started working on the song, and it just kind of fell together. And then I reached out to the videographer. She's a lady, Carolyn Power, who's bringing a lot of awareness to single-use plastics and what it's doing to her marine life. She's a fantabulous photographer and videographer, and so we just teamed up and did this video together. And,
where is she out of?
She's Honduras.
Honduras.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it was just so powerful for me, and I thought people have to see this, and you know, I try to just put it out there, and you just hope that it connects with people, and people find it as just as powerful as I do. And you know, I think any small drop in the ocean is a drop in the ocean, and you can have a ripple effect. So, you know, it's my way of maybe trying to do something, because it's an uphill battle with the single-use plastics and sort of what we're doing to the oceans and our earth.
Well, I think all the rhetoric that we have around single-use plastics and all the education that goes with it, but a lot of it's just talking. All you have to do is put your song on with the video that goes along with it, and you've said it all. And I mean, it's so powerful that you would really start to rethink how you are using plastic in your house, even though you think you're doing the best you can. When you see that, you just want to do more. You want to become more conscious of everything that you do that has to deal with plastic. So
for our kids, you know, my son is 16 and a half, and I think our kids are being told, they're seeing it, and they are feeling maybe like their hands are tied. Because what can they do? It is the almighty dollar that speaks to everyone. And it's these big corporations that are just pushing. And, you know, those little small steps sometimes in your own house, that's where you've got to start.
Absolutely. I have two small kids too, and we're stewards of the land, and we're keeping the land for them. You know, we're passing it on to them. So I want to do anything that I can with what I have.
So you have this talent as a musician, a singer, songwriter, and so you have a voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a voice, and so I try to use it. You know, I think it's a powerful tool, and it's a privilege to be able to do it. And yeah, I feel very blessed that I'm able to be part of the music community here, and then in the broader community as well.
Well, yes, because you've been on many venues over the years. Yeah,
that's great.
What was the very first one that you ever did, when you were just kind of getting enough courage to go out there and actually sing in front of an audience?
So that was pretty young. I played there. Harrison Park did a little show down in there, and so I played there when I was about 16. And you know, of course, nervous, but in my life, and I think like I always try to, like, the things that I'm really scared about and really nervous about are things that I try to run towards, because that's where you find, you know, growth, I believe, anyways, in my own experience. And so yeah, that was it. And then I kind of dabbled a little bit, and then I just got away from music until I got into my late 30s. And my father, Barrie, he wanted to do a record, and I had some production talents and whatnot, so we put together a little studio, and I was thinking, oh, we're gonna have to hire all these musicians and whatnot, but I was able to put together this record for him. I was like, oh, this is neat. Like, I could do this for myself. I've always wanted to do a record, right? And so I did that, and it was just for myself. Like, I was never gonna play live or whatnot. And then I met a gentleman, Matt Epp, who moved to town, and we met, and we kind of clicked, and my wife gave him my album, and I was like, oh, no, don't do that. And it's like, we got to do a show together. So we did a show together, and then it went from there.
Wow. Well, I know that, but I think our community nurtures musicians. Like, we have a lot of them in our community. It's a very nurturing environment because they all connect and collaborate with each other, that sort of thing. But I do want to mention, I did watch the video of your dad singing and you playing, and I thought, I know that man. I know that man. Because we interviewed Brian on Grey County Life, and he wrote a book. And I bought the book and gave it to my granddaughter because it had all the elements of her interest in it. But I was watching you particularly. I mean, he was having a ball up there singing the song, but you were so thoughtful and so into the music that you were playing that it wasn't the audience for you. But at the very end, your dad looked to you and gave you the, you know, there's my son. That's my guy.
He knew how much energy I put into that. And, it took about a year for me to put that record together for him. So he just knew, and he's very thankful. And it's a pretty amazing thing to be able to do with your father. Like, it was pretty neat for me and pretty neat for him to be able to do that.
Well, we are very grateful that you are in our community and continuing with your music career.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to have you back with your guitar next time. We want some live music here. That would be spectacular. And the next big adventure, that would be fantastic too.
Great.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you.
We'll be back after these messages on Grey County Life.
Hello everyone, your host Antoine Hashim here on the couch, and welcome to season 8. Yay! 8 seasons, and we've got a lot of awesome guests coming up, so keep watching.
I started playing softball when I was 5 years old. I loved it because it was all about having fun with my friends, and it still is.
From little kids to adults to seniors, softball is a sport for everyone. Join us.
To paddle a kayak effectively, you need to use your body efficiently, and the key is good posture. Sit up straight and relax your shoulders. Your torso will do most of the work. Your arms and shoulders are there to transmit the power to the paddle. Make sure that you have plenty of torso rotation, and be careful not to bend your wrists to reduce the chance of straining them.
Don't forget to tune in to Grey County Life on Rogers TV next week.
We're going to have a musical guest, Paige Warner.
Welcome back to Grey County Life. It's one of your favorite segments, the adorable Adoptables with Renee. And Miss Renee, who is this little one?
Oh my goodness. Well, now we're calling her Nugget. I've been calling her Chicken Nugget, Little Nugget, for a couple of days now. She came to us as a stray. If you can imagine, somebody tied this little girl up and walked away from her. What the heck?
Oh.
So not a real stray, an abandoned puppy,
Oh,
unfortunately. So I don't know what her name was before, but I feel like it wasn't something that was given to her with a whole lot of love, so we're taking it away anyway.
Good.
The new home will certainly be able to call her whatever they want to. She does kind of look like a chicken nugget, so I mean, whatever, you can call her Nugget if you want to, or I mean, a gold nugget might be more flattering, or I don't know. Little Nugget it is for today. She is approximately 11 weeks of age. When we have them come in, with no history, we age them by their teeth. And puppies are born with little curly milk teeth that fall out at about 12 weeks of age. And little Nugget has wiggly teeth. So they're coming out, but they're not out yet. So she's about 11 weeks of age. Again, no promises. It doesn't matter in the long run. She is definitely very much a puppy, aren't you?
She is a sweetheart.
She is also now, she has been around dogs. She was actually found with another dog and has been with other dogs at the shelter, and she loves them. In saying that, she's very much a puppy. She wants to chew on them, and she wants to jump on them, and she wants to chase them around, so a very patient dog home would be ideal. She is good with cats. Again, she wants to chase them, she wants to chew on them, she wants to jump. Right, she's at that age.
Yeah.
A whole lot of fun, but a whole lot of work. So again, with your cats, you either need one who's very tolerant of that or one that's going to tell her what she's got to do about it, which is generally the case. Good with children. Again, we've not put her with toddlers, but I'm quite sure at this age she's not had any negative experiences, or she'd be a very different dog, and I think she'd fit just about anywhere. As for breed, your guess is as good as mine. We suspect there may be some lab, there could be some collie. She's got this long nose.
She does.
There could even be some boxer in there because they often have this stuff on their chest. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to call her a pound puppy for the sake of calling her something, right?
I love the white on the one side there of her nose, too.
Yeah, she's super cute. Now, her house training is not really a thing. She has been crated now at the shelter during her reclaim period. So good news, because we love crates. She's good in a crate, and we want you to do that. There's a lot of people who have mixed feelings on them, but I can tell you, as somebody who has a lot of dogs, who's had a lot of dogs, who deals with a lot of dogs, they're the best thing in having a puppy. Yes, they are, because then you won't eat the couch, right?
So,
and you won't eat the couch.
That's always a good thing.
How big do you think she's going to be?
I'm looking at her paws. Her paws look fairly large compared to the rest of her.
I have to tell you honestly that the paws, although it's an indicator, it's not a guarantee. I'm going to use a Basset Hound for an example. A Basset Hound has paws as big as my hand when I make a fist, and they're like 45 pounds. So you never really know what you're going to get. With Basset Hound, it's to keep them up. They're top heavy. It's to keep them on the ground. They don't do a face plant. I am guessing by her age. Hello. There is a chart you can do that says my puppy is how many weeks, and this is what it weighs, and what do I think it will be when it's full grown? Again, no guarantees. She should be about 50 pounds. So she's not, okay, stop kissing me. She's not going to be a huge dog by any means. She's not going to be a little dog. Let's say mid-size, and if I'm wrong, you won't hate me. But apparently you love a lot. Yeah.
Look at she's got a lot of love to give.
She?
She's
she
so
does.
pretty.
Okay.
She is so pretty.
She does travel okay in the car. I know this because we've had 3 car rides now, haven't we? She is a little nervous. I have to tell you not to feed her before you do that, because the first trip she had some messes in the back seat. But we're over that. As long as she's not been fed, which she was not today. Not yet. She handles it quite well. Oh my goodness, maybe you're starving. Are you trying to eat me? Are you? Huh? Are you? Yeah, you're the sweetest thing. So I have to remind people, she has been vaccinated. She's been dewormed and defleed, but she is not spayed, and that is something that I really want you to think about, because it's difficult to get in for a spay right now. You're going to book it right away, because vets are full. Additionally, it's going to cost you a bit of money. We can refer you to low-cost options, but it is something that you will have to do if you adopt this dog. And we will be charging you a spay-neuter deposit that you will get back when you get her fixed, as a way to ensure that you do that. She is too young for me to spay at this point. Right. Right.
I know that this past weekend, or the weekend before, was the rabies clinic that you had. Was it successful?
It sure was. We had 150 vaccinated pets, which is a lot. We were certainly very busy. We had people in line at 8 o'clock. Didn't start till 10, so they were eager. But it was very successful. We're very glad to be able to provide that service. Also very glad I didn't run out. We had only 200 vaccines, and I was starting to get a little stressed out once we hit that 140 mark. I was like, oh man, who's going to show up? But it worked out okay. For those people asking, we are not holding another one until next year. Our vet is very busy, and they give up their whole day for us. But in saying that, there are other rabies clinics that do happen. If you Google Ontario rabies clinics, there is a giant list that pops up, and you'll be able to find one closer to you. You may have to travel a little further, but they are still available. Other places are doing them.
Okay.
Right? Right. I'm going to stop talking.
I always have to check in and find out how Rocky is doing, the little beagle.
He went home yesterday.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
And he went home with a person who has had beagles previously,
Very
who
important.
loved his bark, who loved all of those little beagle quirks that beagles have. It was their draw, and I'm so thankful for that, because those things can be hard to live with if you're not used to it. He's already sent a couple of updates. The dog is doing very well, has moved right on in, right at home, which is fantastic.
Oh,
maybe the same for you by next week.
He was, yes, we'll be certainly checking in with Golden Nugget.
Golden Nugget. You were not a chicken.
Oh, girly, girly. I think you got your name, Goldie.
Goldie?
Goldie Nugget.
Oh, that's not bad. Huh? It's better than chicken nugget.
She is a sweetheart. Oh my goodness.
Hey, you're the sweetest. Yeah, you are. Puppies are fun.
So when would she get her first rabies vaccine? Or you've already done?
Yeah,
that goes with that first batch.
They usually don't do rabies vaccines until about 16 weeks of age. They try to keep them a little bit older for that, because the reaction can be more severe in the younger ones.
Yep.
So she's about due in the next little while, but she's going to want to go for a checkup and get a vet lined up anyway, right? Yeah. Or they can do it when they do your spay.
I would say do that soon, because they are quite busy.
They sure
Well,
are.
thanks so much for joining us on Grey County Life, and we'll be checking in to see how Goldie does next week on the show. See you next week on Grey County.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Was that 4 or 5? He's lost count and still thinks he can drive. Do you think he knows that when he is caught and charged with impaired driving, he'll